After 12 days of sailing across the South Atlantic Ocean, we finally sight land. The tiny island of Fernando de Noronha is a tropical paradise lying 200 miles off the coast of Brazil. We could not resist pulling in to explore this exclusive Brazilian holiday island. We are Matt and Amy. We have spent the last 6 years sailing our 37-foot sailboat Florence around the world. In that time we have crossed 3 oceans. Over 36,000 miles have passed under our keel, and we are now closing in on our goal, to complete our circumnavigation.
Before us lies the Atlantic Ocean, which we will now cross twice in order to reach the shores of England once more. It's 1 o'clock in the morning on our final night at sea as we approach Fernando, and it's been an incredible night for sailing. We've got a nearly full moon, which means that it's so much easier to see the sails and also any cloud formations around us, of which there aren't really many this evening. It's been a very calm and pleasant night sailing. Hopefully Matt's got a good rest. He's just down below getting ready for what will be his final night watch before Fernando.
Approaching a small island after weeks at sea is always a special moment. With GPS to help us, navigation is relatively simple compared to days gone by. But the first sight of an island peaking above the ocean waves still sends a tingle of excitement down our spines.
We're just approaching the island of Fernando. It looks incredible. There's a really dramatic spire sticking up in the middle of the island. And we're just going to sail around to the northern side of the island, hopefully get a bit more protection from the swell. It's supposed to be a rolly anchorage, so I don't think it's going to give us a huge amount of protection, but it'll still be great to stop for a few days, have a bit of a rest, and hopefully see some of Brazil.
It's just so green after nearly 2 weeks at sea not seeing green. It just makes a real difference seeing the stark contrast of all the colours. Absolutely beautiful, really stunning place. Really looking forward to getting ashore and having a wander around.
But there's still a little more sailing to do before we can drop anchor and head ashore. First we need to jibe around the end of the island, which means dropping the staysail and shifting the genoa off the pole and across onto the starboard side.
The last job to do before sailing into a new port is to hoist our yellow Q flag, which signifies we are a new arrival and have yet to clear in with the authorities. Once we are cleared in, they will give us permission to lower the flag.
even though this is probably one of the most expensive places we have ever anchored, it's an absolutely beautiful anchorage. We've got the peak, the spire, which is the most famous, iconic landmark of Fernando de Noronha, just behind us here. And in this bay is the other thing that the island is famous for, which is the dolphins. And there are literally hundreds of dolphins, pretty small dolphins, in this bay, and they are circling around Florence all the time. They're spinner dolphins, so they leap out of the water, spin round and slap back in. And it's just amazing to be able to be anchored here and sat watching them. Unfortunately, catching the dolphins actually out of the water spinning is virtually impossible on camera. You'll be waiting there for ages with the camera thinking they're going to do it again, they're going to do it again, and they don't. And then as soon as you put the camera away, dolphins up in the air. But one of the rules is you're not allowed to go within 100 meters of the dolphins. Now, if they actually enforced that rule, it would be impossible for us to get to the beach in the dinghy, because they're everywhere and they come up to have a look at you. We were just checking the anchor and they came swimming up to us, which is one of the most amazing experiences with dolphins we've had on this trip so far. You're not allowed to technically go in the water with the dolphins. It's just that the dolphins don't know that.
It was time to launch the dinghy and dodge the dolphins to check in and have a look around the island.
I'm not supposed to drive towards the dolphins, but I can't get to the beach without getting to the dolphins.
The baby just jumped out behind you.
Fernando de Noronha is a holiday hotspot for Brazilian tourists, but it is very expensive. A favourite way of getting around is these jeeps, but at $70 US a day, we decided to use a different method of transport.
So it took most of the afternoon yesterday, but we are now officially checked into Brazil. The harbour master, I think, was the friendliest of any that we've ever come across in the world. There's a language barrier because we don't speak any Portuguese and he didn't speak any English, but he took the time to Google Translate and explain everything that we needed to know. I think this is the most expensive place that we've ever anchored. It's costing us £65 per day just to be anchored here, and that doesn't give us access to any of the national parks on the island, but there's still a huge amount that we can hopefully see here. All of the beaches on this side of the island that we're anchored on are free for us to go to. So today we're going to try and sail the dinghy further along this coastline. There's an absolutely stunning pinnacle that we can see. We might see if we can just kind of nip round the corner of that as well.
Well, what else would you want to do after sailing non-stop for 12 days, but yet more sailing?
How cool is this? Just sailing the dinghy round in such an iconic place. I guess this is similar to when we were sailing the dinghy round in Bora Bora. I think that's how it feels, with the rock spire in the middle. Beautiful day for it. So much nicer than the colder climes we've just come from in South Africa and Namibia. It's beautiful.
One of the things that I really love about sailing and travelling with Florence is just how much change we can get from one country to the next. And it was 3,000 miles ago that we left Namibia and the penguins and fur seals of that area and really cold, kind of foggy conditions. Now we're well back into the tropics and surrounded by palm trees, coconuts, papaya, passion fruit, and it's hot, really hot. How amazing is this banyan tree? It's a long time since we've seen one this big.
These banyan trees send roots down from the upper branches and they just dangle down like this.
Oh!
And then when they actually reach the ground, they dig in, become really solid.
Woohoo!
Random sign by the beach. You're not allowed a dog on the beach, that makes sense. Or a horse, kind of makes sense. You're also not allowed a cow on the beach. I mean, I don't know what's normal on this island, but I haven't seen any cows on the beach yet, but maybe that's just because they're not allowed.
I haven't seen any cows.
I haven't seen any cows at all, no.
You're not allowed to fly a drone on the island, so we've had to get a view of the anchorage by the old-fashioned way, which is climbing up to the top of a hill.
So we come up to the old colonial fort on the top overlooking the anchorage, and you can just see stunning views over the anchorage, but you can also see the size of the breakwater around the harbour. And when we looked in the pilot book for coming here, it actually says the anchorage is supposed to be really rolly, but we've come at a really good time of year for that because the waves are really small. We know this because we spoke to a surfer, and normally this is a good place to surf, but not at the moment. That means it's good for us anchoring, but you can see from the size of the breakwater, the size of the waves that they normally expect here. And in the Harbour Master's office, they've actually got some pictures of waves breaking over that breakwater. And when they get storms in the North Atlantic, they get waves coming in this way, and it actually closes the harbour. There's no way you'd be able to get in. The pilot guide also says that it's really difficult to land on the beach because of the surf. There's no surf on the beach at the moment, it's really easy.
We're still about 2,000 miles away from the Caribbean, but here it feels very much like the Caribbean with all of the colonial buildings and the fortifications and cannons everywhere on the island.
We couldn't leave Brazil without a party, and we were in luck. The island decided to hold a party right on the beach for us. In fact, this was the island's birthday party. We're not sure which particular anniversary they were celebrating, but it didn't really matter. Any excuse would do.
Fernando's been a great place to stop. We are really glad that we did stay here. We've had a nice 4 days break from the passage, but it's time for us to move on. There's not actually a huge amount to do here unless you like lying on a beach, and it's costing us £65 a day just to kind of anchor here. So although it's very nice to be here, it's definitely time for us to get moving and to make some progress towards the Caribbean.
Next time, we leave Fernando de Noronha in our wake as we set out to surf the ocean currents on our way to cross the equator and sail to mainland South America.
Don't forget to subscribe to catch the next episode. We release a video every 2 weeks.
Cheers! Welcome to the Northern Hemisphere again.
Cheers!
If you'd like to find out more about behind the scenes on Florence, track our progress across the oceans in real time, find out where we are right now, or ask us pretty much anything, then please head over to our Patreon site and join the crew. We would like to thank everyone who supports us to make these videos possible, and a special thank you to our star patrons.